Hey, everybody, stop working. It's time for a lunch break. Proudly brought to you by Groove Fishing, changing the way you do tackle. Sunline, the best fishing line on the planet. And Spro, makers of the finest tackle available. All right, what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well this Wednesday, February 4th, time for a lunch break. Glad you guys could join me here today. And of course, if you're listening and going to watch this later on, appreciate you guys as well. I like the profile picture, Doug. Evidently, Doug's got a good profile picture that I haven't seen yet. So again, hope you guys are doing great. If I'm talking loud or something like that, you got to let me know because I have been jamming to Pantera at the highest volume I could possibly crank for about the last hour while I was working, doing emails. I know Pantera is probably not the best work music. A lot of you guys get on there and you like that jazzy little focus music or, you know what? When I'm concentrating, I like just some screeching guitars and everything. So there you go. I see it now. Reservoir Runner, what's going on? And of course, Doug's in the comments as well. You know, it's hump day. It's nasty outside though. It's wet. Rained pretty good here last night, and it's a dreary day. It's a good day to stay in bed. Of course, we can't do that. I know a lot of you guys out there are working, so I hope you're not working too hard today. And let's get on with it with a conversation. Pantera is a great band. Dimebag, he can play the hell out of a guitar, and Pantera does go hard. It does. And what's up, Jeff Brazone? A lot of you guys may or may not know that when Dimebag died, Eddie Van Halen gave him his or gave him he is buried with Eddie Van Halen's Bumblebee guitar. So it's the black and yellow striped one that he played back when the band first got started and all that. Just a little useless knowledge for you guys. Um, kind of want to I got a lot that I want to talk about today. We'll recap a little bit of last night. I thought last night with Nick Brown, MPFL angler, great show. I really like when he comes on. He's a good dude. We can talk about that. We can talk about a couple other things about like your own championship, World Bass Championship tournament. How would you do that? Because I've got some ideas. It is an ugly, foggy day out there, Ron. But I want to drop a little hint. And I know generally when we first start these things, it takes a while on the lunch break for guys to come on, but a lot of guys will listen to it later. Just dropping a little hint out there for you guys. You guys have all heard about some of the stuff, the rumblings going on with the dual threat fishing series and everything. A lot of rumors swirling. And so this morning, I actually reached out to Ethan, who runs Dual Threat, and I invited him to come on a podcast, to come on an episode of the Live Well, to answer questions in a very fair, very, non biased, you know, show platform, doing it live for you guys. And he actually, I have a tentative agreement with him. They're trying to get through a few things this week. And so hopefully next week on one of the live wells, and we might even have to do it on a different night, depending on his schedule. But you're gonna have Ethan on and you could ask him the questions, and I'm gonna ask him the questions, the tough questions. I told him, I said, I'll be firm but fair. We want to be absolutely transparent and want to give you the opportunity to be transparent and to do it, like I said, to do it in a very safe place environment. And he pretty much agreed. So, will it happen? I don't know. But as of right now, this is something you guys can look forward to next week. Um, and I think, it's always better to actually hear it from the person themselves, right? And instead of hearing it from somebody else's social media post or, they heard this, they heard that. Let's see. What's up, Farmer and Thomas Alexander? I have a question about the Elite Series coming up. We'll shoot it out there on TikTok. Um, but I just wanted to give him the opportunity to say, hey, yeah, look, these are some of the things that's happening. These are some of the things that you guys have heard. These are some of the mistakes maybe we've made or whatever. This is what we're going to do going forward. And I think it will be a pretty big show if we can get him on and make it happen. So that's the goal. Again, like I said, I reached out to him this morning and uh, was pleasantly surprised when I got a response. And he knows who we are. So, hopefully we can make that happen. Um, I think it would be really good. Also, too, little programming note, couple programming notes that you guys are going to notice here coming up. Starting on Monday night, okay, Monday night, our great co-host, friend of the show, everything, Tony, is going to have his own show starting on Monday nights. We haven't named it yet, but it's going to be kind of a variety type show, but it's going to be a lot of tackle, bait manufacturers, a lot of content creators, more the content creator side of things, um, from the world of TikTok and whatever. And so Tony does an excellent job filling in for me. Um, when I've had to, and he's a great co-host, but it's time to give Tony his own show. So that's going to start Monday. And again, we'll be making some announcements. You guys look forward to that. We're going to try to make the Live Well on YouTube a channel. And I'm not lying, guys. I actually am looking into an actual TV app channel where we can put some programming on that. But just start looking forward to that. Now tonight, Alex is he's supposed to have a kayak episode, but I believe one of the guests backed out. So we may or may not have an episode tonight. I'll post that on the group page. I'm thinking if we can't get a kayak guy on, we might do a one-off electric only, cover some of the electric only reservoirs and stuff. Still some small water kind of things. But stay tuned here in the next couple hours and we will figure that out. But yeah, we're gonna give Tony his own show and let him roll. Thomas Alexander on TikTok. Who you got winning out at Gunnersville on the Elites? I think Fisher's got he's gonna be hard to beat. The kid's on a roll. He is hot. I do think it's going to be different. It's kind of hard to bet against a young kid. Fisher's got as good a chance as anybody. Tucker, but you never know. If I had to if I had to put money down right now, I'd probably go. Yeah, I might go Tucker. But then again, like I think Trey McKinney could catch fish out of this room right here. So the young guys, you never know. An old guy. Who do you guys think in the comment section? Who you got? Um, Logan Parks, South out there. Let's see. Clayton said, "No, we're going to pull this up real quick. The story has changed depends on how many people it goes through before you can finally hear it. All stories are like that, right? And I'll tell you this. Let me give you guys a life lesson. I used to not be the guy that I am today, right? We all have our skeletons in the closet. We all got our past. But I can tell you this: when you tell an untruth, when you lie about something, then you got to tell another lie to cover up that lie, and another lie to cover up that lie. And eventually, you've lied so much you forget what you originally said. And I think a lot of people feel that there are a lot of um, half truths kind of things going on. But again, you don't know, right? Until you hear it from the dog himself. You don't know. You don't know the story. You don't know what's going on. Ron Swinford's picking Jordan Lee. Jordan Lee. Hey, listen, solid choice. Solid choice out there. Tony's show should be called Welcome to Wadawi or Weedawi. Tim. Oh, Tim fell on that bandwagon. It's not a bandwagon. It's all you guys, that little craze where everybody's going to chat GPT and doing a cartoon character. Tim, yours is pretty accurate, though. And what I thought was accurate was your boat. Because I've been in your boat with your rod holders and everything. And I know it's got you with your football trophy, your fantasy football stuff and the bass and all that. And all that's great. But I was actually looking at the details like your boat. And I'm like, pretty accurate. I haven't messed with that yet. But yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty cool. Let Tony roll. So you're gonna see less of him on like the Tuesday nights and all that. We're gonna give him his own show and let him go with it. Let him get the guests and just see what he can make it. And hopefully it'll be good. But I do like the idea of having a separate show where we spend a little more time um, with the tackle, with content creation, things like that, with some of the more personalities that maybe not won't come on the live well, right? Because we have a direction with the live well we want to take it. We've got a direction with Alex's show we want to take it. Now we got Tony's show. And Tony does a good job. It's gonna be good. Gunnersville will be tough. Let's see. Let's pull up Farmer right here. Gunnersville will be tough. They have started a shad kill. They will be your outliers as always, but I feel like the field may struggle. And it's very possible, Farmer. 100%. Um, let me pull up Reservoir. I missed Reservoir. Sorry about that. What's the latest story? Last I heard, guys had to hold off cashing their checks. Anything new? We're still kind of in that. And here's the thing. Right now, I don't want to say anything because I don't know 100%. But there are rumors of that. Rumors of just I don't know. It's kind of craziness. People really don't know what to say or think. So I'm very hesitant on making any comment. But I would, like I said, if I can get Ethan on the show, point straight, we're going to ask him, and hopefully he will give transparent answers. But there's a lot going on out there right now for sure. Let's say, why didn't Hank Cherry get as much recognition as he probably should have after winning back-to-back classics? Jeremiah, Hank Cherry to me does. He's a hammer. Um, and I just think that with social media and everything, your young guys are in the news more. With Forward Facing Sonar, your young guys are in the news more. I think it's a combination of, when you post or you see posts or guys are talking about things, they're talking about what's hot, right? And guys like Hank maybe are not quite as out there as of course, your Fisher and Ios, your Tuckers, your you know, Banks, Shaw, those guys, the young guys are really dominating the news cycle. So I think those in the know really do believe Hank Cherry is what he is, and that is a back-to-back, you know, classic winner. Um, who do you think is going to win Gunnersville? Again, like I said, I'm going with a young guy. It would be hard to bet against Tucker or Fisher or one of them guys that live on the lake. There's a handful of even seasoned guys that live on the lake. I think it should be one guy from that area. You can't count out any of them, right? They're all elites. But if you ask me, that would be if I were putting money on it. I'm gonna look at who lives in the area, who's had recent success uh, in the area, and you got to go with those guys. But anybody can win it for sure. Uh, Hoping for a good weekend on West Point. Water is 44 degrees currently. Yeah, interesting thing I saw. I forget. I think it was Bass Blaster was interviewing Chris Johnston. We kind of said something about this the other day too about northern guys having an advantage in cold water situations. And Chris Johnson actually gave a very good answer disproving that. He said, I don't think so because the reality is they don't get to fish that much in the wintertime up north because they're ice fishing. And that's exactly what he said. Their bass season doesn't open till like June and everything. So he actually thinks it puts them at a little bit of a disadvantage coming down south to these cold waters because they really don't fish cold water that much up north. And we kind of all think like, yeah, they're fishing cold water all the time, and actually they're not. I actually read that this morning, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I was shocked, uh, when I learned winners both got $100,000. Yeah, I mean, well, are you talking about in the classic on that one? Just ask Slick. He thinks he knows everything about everything. Listen, Slick is a buddy of mine. I do talk to Slick from time to time. Um, I will say this, he is in the know. He has contacts throughout the industry. Sometimes he does stuff out there he will put stuff out there just to egg people on a little bit, just to kinda get under your skin and all that, but Slick really is connected. He really actually is, and if you ever have the opportunity to be his friend or something, to get to talk to him off of a camera, it's very interesting. Um, I don't call him cocky, I call him confident. He's very confident, but, he knows. He knows a lot more. Sometimes the way he likes to put it out there for you guys, it makes it seem, kind of far fetched and stuff like that. But he really does know a lot. Um, a history show, hometown favorites seldom win history shows. True, but I wouldn't know who to bet. I wouldn't know who to bet on. That's why I said, somebody that lives there that knows the lake that may have fished it. But it is right, as Robert said, He goes, talking about northern anglers. Now we come down south to fish in cold weather. This year is tricky for sure. But it was very interesting, Robert, to hear Chris Johnson say that in the interview. I was reading it, and I was like, I never really thought about it that way. Slick is a good dude. He loves to stir the pot. 100%. Now listen, we make money on videos. We make money on views. I make money on views. That's how it works. The more you guys watch a video of mine, whether it's a short or a Facebook post or whatever, it's all monetized. And so sometimes I'm not the biggest one to stir the pot like Slick or nothing like that. I'm not a clickbait guy. Sometimes I wish I would. You get more views and all that, but that's how you make some of that money. Up north, they only get to fish like 4 to 6 months out of the year. June is the spawn in some places. Yeah, that's kind of like what he was saying. That's why we are called snowbirds. And Eric has joined the thing. Now, let's jump on a couple of the topics that I want to talk about because I haven't even got to what we're going to talk about. First of all, and this is very short topic, but this shows my age, and you older guys might understand this a lot more than the younger guys. But whatever happened to the classic sponsor patch? You know what I'm talking about? I can remember back when I was young in the 80s, and you guys that grew up in the 80s and all that, in 70s, some of you before me, you know what I'm talking about. Like the anglers had the patches, and we would get the patches. If we went to something or you went something, you had the Bass patch, Bass Pro Shop patch. You had patches. Now, if right now I got my Sunline garb on, uh, this is the way we do things now. Of course, I got my Sunline gear on today. Got the hat. It's all printed. But you guys remember back in the day it was patches. And so I was sitting there this morning, and I forget what I saw online or something, but somebody somewhere had a bunch of patches that they had collected from back in the day. And they had a collection. I mean, they had probably thousands of patches. Fishing companies, Zoom, all these old ones, Bagley Baits and all that. Just back in the day, Red Man. And it was really nostalgic and really cool. And I never really thought about it, but at some point in time, patches just went out of style. Everything else comes back into style, right? We see the bell bottoms, we see parachute pants. Everything that we've done back in the day comes back in style, but not the patches. The jersey happened. Now it's all on the jersey. I know, and it's sad. You know what I'm saying? It's sad. Like I want the patches to come back. Go get your old white shirt, like you work at a garage, like you're a mechanic or you're heat. When I did heating and air, we had uniforms. It was white or gray, depending on the season, depending on whether you were a service guy or if you actually did some real work, like we did. We had the gray, but you had your name patch, right? And it's very nostalgic. I think it would be very cool to see the patches come back. Now, again, I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on that topic, but the question is, do you guys have any of the old patches? And if so, I'd like to see them. I just think it was really, really cool. Let's see. Now it's Pennsylvania, right, Robert? I always forget you whether you're Virginia or Pennsylvania. I think you're Pennsylvania. That's not so true either. Early spawn can come months ahead. Last few years, the spawn was early. It can go on for months. Fishing in Pennsylvania is from April to October. Okay, very, very good. Eric said he is well, hold on a second. Patricia says Gunnersville, 80, 90, or 100 pounds to win. I think you're going to be around, I think you'll be between 80 and 90. I don't think, if somebody hit the century mark with the weather and it being jacked up, they were on to something. And again, right, no forward facing sonar either on this one. Eric says he's fishing with Dowie Saturday and Lanier on Sunday this week. If anyone has an overview for Lanier this week, I'll take it. Haven't been there in 2 months. I haven't talked to a lot of guys about fishing Lanier here lately. Honestly, nobody's really talking about it. I'm sure there's some guys on here that will throw out some comments eventually of what's biting on Lanier, but I guess you could do your standard. Water temp, last I heard was upper 40s. So, Tyler's been on the lake too. Tyler, last time you were on Lake Lanier, what was the water temp? Or any of you guys that's been on Lanier lately, what was the water temp? Jerseys look cooler. I get it, but wouldn't it be nice if one of the young guys just showed up and it was just all patches? Just bringing it back. It's just an old nostalgic fashion sense. When water temps get colder, fish move lower and get lethargic. All about techniques and all that. I would say yes, except for I think the spotted bass throws a kink in that. because spotted bass are not as lethargic. Now, granted, they do get in the ditches and all that, but they're all one thing forward facing sonar has shown us is that them boogers are always moving, at least on Lake Lanier. Maybe that's what makes Lake Lanier crazy. Okay, he said the water temp was 44 degrees today on Lanier. I've got a tournament on Lanier, not this weekend, but 2 Saturdays. Yeah, not this weekend, but the following weekend, uh, out of Young Deer. We got an electric only tournament. Fog was terrible. I couldn't fish. I needed a new truck battery, so he headed home early. Now, Tim says back when I fished BASS and FLW Federated clubs, we got patches when we made the top 6 or the state team. See, that's cool. Do you still have them, Tim? Do you still have all your patches? 44 is good with me. That's a good one. Farmer said, I am out of commission. I have an upper drive shaft seal leak in the lower unit. I have to get fixed. Dropped the lower unit last night. Oh, man. That is not good. And Robert said, they're slower moving. You need to slow the reel down, but get their attention. Yeah, you're probably right. So here's my next question. And this is the big topic I want to kind of discuss with you guys. You know how my brain works. So thinking about this new World Bass Championship, we've talked about it yesterday. Top 25 from Bass, top 25 from MLF. A lot of people I seen in the comments, like, why no MPFL? I saw that in some of the comments on the YouTube page after the show. Somebody had listened to it afterwards. But that's what it is, right? Would it be a true world championship? And the only reason I say I understand why the answer would be yes, because you're pitting the top 25, but it's a one-off tournament, right? And anybody can get hot. Lord knows I've won a tournament before. Anybody can have that day, right? Blind hog finds an acorn, blind squirrel finds an acorn, those kind of things. If we wanted to establish a true world championship, what would it be? What would it really take? Because I've asked every angler out there, and don't get me wrong, the elite's like the classic is like that one-off trophy that everybody wants. But what's more impressive? And they all say angler of the year. All of them will say angler of the year because it shows your consistency throughout the year. How do you set something up to determine a world champion where you have that kind of criteria? Where it's not just who gets hot over the course of one tournament. Now, there might not be any options to it at all. But if you could, what would you guys set up? What would be your criteria? Would it be a tournament style, kind of like baseball? You got to play the best of 7, right? Football, you got to go through the playoffs. Even college now, you got to go through the playoffs. So it's not a one-off thing. You got to keep working on your way in there. Basketball, best of 7. Hockey, best of 7. Whatever. I think World Cup. I don't watch soccer, but I think it's kind of like a tournament, a round robin kind of thing. Is that possible in fishing to set up a true world championship? Could you take these 50, figure out a buy system for you like your angler of the years or something like that, and then you have a series of, say, 3 tournaments, or you know what I'm saying? Some back to back to back to back, like week 1, week 2, week 3, and then cut the field down. And then at least that way you've earned. Would that be it? Would it be something, and I was kind of being silly, but it would be something like a survivor style thing where not only was it winning the tournament, but you competed in skills competitions. Who can flip into a cut from 55 yards? Some of them guys probably could. Um, the 25 had to get in by tourneys. They've already made their stance. Well, see, I get it. I get it. I get what you're saying there, Robert. But they made their stance in their league. They made their stance in their league and need to bring them over and it's won. I get it. You could say world championship, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, if you had to rank these 50 anglers, and a lot of you guys would have Wheeler at the top or whatever, and whoever was the bottom 50, that bottom 50 could get hot and win that tournament, right? But if you did it over the course of 4 tournaments, would that guy rank 50th? Would he come out on top? I'm just throwing out possibilities. This is just like I said, this is the way my brain works. I get what you're saying, and also too, we here in America, we love to say world champs. We love to say the champions of the world, world baseball, all that. But is it really truly a world championship if you don't have other countries involved? I'm just saying. It's just a thing. Let me look at the comments. And actually, okay, so Reservoir Runner says no, not a real world championship, mainly because what about the weekend warriors across the nation who are better than the pros? Hope that makes sense. There's some hammers out there. I get it. Um, but I do think it helps to be a professional. Are there some guys that choose not to fish tournaments because of the money or whatever that probably could compete and hang with all them? Absolutely. But if you want to win a World Series, you got to play baseball. A lot of us played adult league softball out there, and I know some really great guys. I actually played some softball with some minor leaguers who didn't make it to the pros and all that, and they were ungodly good, but they weren't good enough to make it to the pros. Okay, excuse me, my cousin actually married a guy who made it up as a catcher with the Cincinnati Reds. He stayed in the show for 1 week. For 1 week, he got to taste what it was like to be a Major League Baseball player. Got sent back down, never made it back up. As far as a skill level, and then he ended up playing some adult league softball and stuff with us later on. But skill level, physical level, everything, 100 times better than anybody around. But on that level, he didn't hang. He couldn't hang. So I get what you're saying about the weekend warrior. I get it, but I think you need to be a pro. It cannot be called a world championship. Um, FIPS is official organization having world championships every year. I think 20 countries participated. Okay, yeah, so that's kind of what I was saying too. Like we here in America like to say, "Hey, we're world champs," and even in like adult league softball, I think they still have it. I think they still have it, but they had some of them tournaments like that when back in the day when I was playing. But like world champs, and they're playing over in Bumble, South Carolina, at a facility, and you get like 4 or 5 states represented, stuff like that. But we call it the world champs, right? I think it's an American thing. We like to say that a lot. But truly, if you want to be a world champ, if the Jamaicans have a fishing team, you gotta beat them. If the Russians might come, I don't know, but maybe because bass fishing is so big here, we can kind of. But Mexico, it's big. Japan, it's big. Maybe we need like a world classic like they do in baseball. I don't know how that would set up, but you guys just see what I was thinking. That's just the way my brain was working. Robert said they need an OG tournament. I'd love to see the OGs again and then competition against the youngsters. Almost kind of like a senior league. I've heard some rumblings about a senior league. Who's the underdog? I don't know. Baseball World Series is not. We know that for sure because when you watch the World Baseball Classic, which I think one's coming up, I actually enjoy it. And I will tell you this, guys, if you ever get to go to a Latin American country and watch a baseball game, it is mind blowing how much more fun it is than to watch it, say, down at not Fulton County Stadium, but over at Truist Park and watching the Braves. I've gone to Braves games. You go, you sit there, you have your beer and a hot dog, and you sit there and you cheer a little bit and all that. But in Puerto Rico, like an hour before the game, they're singing, dancing all through the game. It's just insane. And that was at a minor league game. That was the most fun I've ever had at a baseball game. And I couldn't even pronounce the players' names. I didn't know who was playing. I didn't know a single player out there. But just the atmosphere was, you know, they take it serious. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't even close. And I even prefer watching minor league baseball here than I do watching the pros, just because, smaller venues and stuff. You I'm telling you, a Latin American baseball game is just, and I don't speak the language. I might have been one of, I don't know, 10 Americans there in the whole place, but it was such a good time. I'm dancing. My fat ass is up dancing to whatever kind of music they got going on. Um, War Eagle the best. They don't give a chance to play for people from Italy, Japan, Spain, Croatia, China, South Africa. So it would be interesting. Now, uh, Tim, you are correct. We are two-time back-to-back World War champs. There's always a bright side, right? We can always figure something out. Reservoir Runner says, in my mind, I can outfish KVD. Yeah. And I look in the mirror and I'm John Holmes. We know the truth, right? Ron Swinford, I think a 4-day tourney, if they're going to have 50 to 60 people, no cut, first day MLF format, but only keep your best 5. Second day, 3 fish limit only, final 2 days, standard bass format. Yeah, and then the MLF guys might like, well, we want our format. I get what you're saying though. War Eagle the best. They can call themselves how they want. Nobody in the world would admit they are world championships every year. Let's make Olympic Games between us on Lanier. Well, that was kind of, best of 5, Robert said. Uh, so you guys are thinking now. That's what I wanted to see if we could actually have a legit conversation. I think other countries don't need to be involved because they either don't bass fish at all or just don't like bass. Largemouth are caught and thrown back on the bank to die in some countries, and that may be true. But there's always that one guy that likes the bass fish, right? And he might be the prodigy, and he might be in Uruguay. I don't know. I know in Puerto Rico there was largemouth bass in the rivers and stuff. They were going for the tilapia because they would eat the tilapia, and the bass weren't really as big. So when we were fishing, we were doing that hand lining and everything, and the guys are trying to catch the tilapia coming in and all that, and the bass were actually on bed. They were spawning, and I'm trying to catch spawning bass with a hand line. And, like the locals were looking at me like, "Well, what are you doing, SA?" And I'm like, dude, he's right there. But they wouldn't hit. Um, Now, this is very true. When you're paying out 3 million, you can call it what you want. You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You can't deny that. You can call it that. But in theory. Now, would you guys seriously, would you like to see if they took these 50? And again, I threw it out there in the title, kind of in the description and all that. And they put them on an island, survivor style. And they had to go through a series of tests and challenges and all that. And then they weed down. Would you guys actually watch that? If that was a TV show, you know, Bass Survivor. And you can have some of the OGs in there where I don't know what events would you have? I'm sure you'd have the flip in and stuff like that. But how fast can you tie a FG knot? But would you watch that? Would that be a show that would interest you if they spent 75% of the time doing challenges and skills tests and then 25% of the time actually bass fishing? Of course, you'd have to pick an island out or somewhere. You'd have to put them in a location where they could bass fish, right? Um, there used to be a fishing show called Pro versus Joe, where they take a pro angler and have them fish head to head with an average guy who thought they'd have a chance on home water. Results never changed, right? I get that. What was that one show ESPN had where that guy from Boston or whatever it was, he would go challenge guys on their home lakes. I forget the name of that show, but I know he was from up north because he had that accent. And I forget his name, but I actually watched that show a few times where he would just go show up on somebody's home lake. They'd go fish and everything. I just can't remember his name. Um, the Savannah Bananas are fun to watch. I can't get into the bananas. My wife loves them. I I hate to say this. When it comes to baseball, I am a purist. That's my favorite sport. Baseball is my favorite sport. It's the one I played. Softball, it's my favorite sport to watch. I know it bores a lot of people, but I'll sit there and watch a game and we'll be sitting at Truist and I'm watching the way the third baseman is setting up, trying to figure out if this pitch is outside, inside. There's a lot of nuances in the game. The bananas, I don't know. I don't know. They're still athletes. I'll give them that. They do some crazy stuff. And that guy, I'll tell you what, that guy, he's making some money. He made a good investment, and he is making some money on that. And it's very entertaining. I think it's a hard ticket to get if you can get one. Uh, they are fun. I'm just that baseball purist in me is kind of like cranking and yanking with forward facing sonar, right? I'm sitting there like, rah, 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 rah. I'm just grumbling. Guy in stilts standing 8 foot off the ground pitching, backflips. My dad was my coach growing up. God rest his soul. And I took a lot of that, a lot of what he taught me when I was trying to teach my son, which is why my son thinks he laughs now. He sends me these memes about when he was growing up, and I was like, "You got to hit the ball this way," all that. Being that dad. A lot of you guys have been that dad. I was that dad. My dad was that dad. But like back then, if you didn't catch a ball with two hands, oh my lord! If you did anything showboaty, good lord, I got in trouble. I Back when I was growing up, I was left-handed, and I was, of course, a little bit smaller, but I was fast. This is before I learned how to put some power into the ball. If I pulled a baseball in little league, I got in trouble. Why are you hitting it at first? Slap it at third and run. They can't throw you out. It was that way. But the showboating, and my grandfather played semi-pro baseball. He actually, the St. Louis Cardinals offered him a minor league contract as a catcher. He didn't take it because back then he made more money at the gas station that he owned, and he had kids already because they didn't make the money they do now. So he turned it down. But old school, man, you just didn't do all the showboating and the one-handed catches and all that stuff that they do now, and it's okay, it's cool, it works, it's just a new way of thinking, but yeah, back in the day, them Savannah Bananas, my grandfather would roll over in his grave watching them. I remember Andrew Jones. My grandfather couldn't stand Andrew Jones. Didn't deny his talent, didn't deny he was probably the best defensive center fielder he's ever seen. He just couldn't handle it because he was smiling all the time. And I'm not gonna tell you the words that he used because I don't use them no more. I ain't gonna say that, but it was basically just complaining of the fact that he was on a baseball field smiling during the game. That's what my grandfather was. Um, if you ever get a chance to go out to Coors Field in Denver, or go to Coors Field in Denver, one of the coolest stadiums I've ever been to, I can believe that. I bet the site would be amazing there. Um, Same reason I prefer college football to the NFL. The energy is crazy. It is. It is for sure. Co versus pro, maybe. Patricia says Bass beats BPT. And you really like to throw that 100% thing right out there on all your comments. When you fully believe in something, you like to throw that out there. I But it's interesting you say that. But then if I ask who's the best angler on the planet right now, and we've done it before, 75% of the guys out there are going to say Jacob Wheeler. When I asked Kevin and Tim the other night, if you had to have one guy to win a tournament to save your life, Kevin said Wheeler. Tim said Dustin Connell. They're both BPT guys. I think on the three fish day, start them at 11 a.m. and have them fish to 5 p.m. That would be something too. How come they don't ever do no, they could throw an afternoon day in there or something. Just change it up a little bit. What about a night tournament? Just a one off. And granted, it might be safety issues, whatever, a lot of things, and the coverage wouldn't be good, right? Like watching them, it would suck, but let them fish at night one time. That would be pretty cool. New wide world of sports, but call it the wide world of fishing for sure. Charlie Moore, that's it. Beat Charlie Moore. Yeah, you older guys got it. That's Tim and Jeff and Doc right there. Jeremiah beat Charlie Moore was a great show while it lasted. Wasn't he from Boston? You know them accents, right? It's hard to hide. I remember watching that show. He was over the top on the personality though. He made me sound like a mute. Animal Planet had a fishing show where they would have different anglers who specialized in different skills and have them do challenges too. I think it'd be interesting. Like take the MLF and take the elites right now. If you had a flipping challenge, who would win? If you had casting for distance and say they all got to throw a Berkeley Credge or something heavy, who would win? Who would be able to do the knots or take 100 different skill sets that you got to have to be a pro angler. But I think something like that you would have some OGs. Honestly, some of the older guys I think would do very well in a skill type competition. Skipping. Who can skip the farthest? Have them a thing and have them skip and see who can do. Because like Farmer's the best skipper I've ever seen in person. He really truly is. I'm not blowing smoke up his big butt. He really is the best I've ever seen at skipping. But I bet you there are some pros that would make Farmer look like me. And everybody that's ever fished with me knows the one thing I can't do unless it's a weightless wacky on a spin rod, I can't skip at all. And even then, I hit the dock half the time. But I wonder who would win what. Now, fishing with Farmer, I think it would be cool if they had a show where they had like 40 different anglers and split them into brackets, 1v1, and you move them on to the next round. It could be the MLF format. That's kind of what I was sitting there thinking. Would that determine would that be better? A better way to actually have a true champion, whether you want to call it world champion or whatever. Uh, all the BBT guys come from Bass. True. What did you guys think last night with Nick? When we brought up the feeder system, we were talking. If you got to watch it last night, I was asking him about the future of the NPFL, and he said that he believes they'll have a feeder system. And I turned right around and I asked the question, okay, because we've heard guys on the show say it, and we've heard guys out in public say it, that one of the reasons that the NPFL is not considered legit in their mind, not mine, but in their mind, is they don't have a feeder system or a qualifying trail to get up there to it. And so I asked him, okay, all right, if they do get that, do you feel that that'll put them on a legit level? And he did bring up an interesting point that back when the FLW started or all that, whatever, the split and everything, a lot of those guys never had to qualify to get in it. That's what he said last night. And he goes, now, of course, you do now, but a lot of them guys are still fishing or something like that. I forget exactly how he phrased it, but I remember him saying something like that. So, yeah, you're right, Patricia. You're right, but I don't know. NPFL did an afternoon tournament at Pickwick last year to take advantage of current generation. They did do that. Yeah, they did. War Eagle, bet money if sure 100% easy income. I don't know. Bring in the celebrities and sports stars to get more viewers. Now, that is one of the things I talked about that yesterday that they're going to do at this World Bass Championship. The tournament is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then on Sunday, they're taking the top 15. This is what the guy said in the interview. They're taking the top 15 anglers, and they're going to pair them with a celebrity, and they're going to have a pro-am. I do like pro-am stuff. I am not a golf fan. A golf course is the biggest waste of deer woods ever invented, but I have played it. Back when I partook of the beverages a little bit more, that was a good excuse to basically hammer down some and hit a little white ball as hard as you can and just hope you didn't bust anybody's windows out. I'm not a golfer. But the pro-am stuff is pretty cool. When you go on ESPN, you're watching the highlights, and you got Bill Murray out there, Charles Barkley, who has absolutely the worst golf swing in the history of golf swings. Watching those guys, and then you get Brady, gets Peyton, Manning and all that. That is something that I will stop for a second and pay attention to. I'll be honest with you. I watch one golf tournament a year. I watch the Masters, and generally it's only the final round. It was a lot more exciting when Tiger was in it. I'll just say that. But I do think that is a good thing to do. Doug says, FYI, guys, G4 has a new venture coming up. I need Danny's permission to mention it. Go ahead. Go ahead and put it out there. I'll let you announce it. Even though I know about it, I'll let you announce it. And then I will read it for you. The NPFL needs to up their championship money. They all do. I think they all do. I mean, it's been $100,000 for in all of them for a while, or 120. They need some big time money. That will change it. Speaking of celebrities, I wonder if Deion Sanders would come on the show. He definitely has Georgia roots and is a fisherman. Eric, I have reached out, and I doubt he ever read it, but I like the way you think. I reached out to Deion, and I'm sure he's got somebody doing his social media. Well, it never got to Deion, or he never answered me. I reached out to Travis Hunter. I haven't reached out to Julio Jones. I do know Julio Jones likes to striper fish. I do know he likes to do that. I mean, even The Rock. Now, we met Steve Harvey down at ICAST. Actually, he stood across from me. He had 20 people around him. His son, my wife, and Tony's wife and all had conversations with his son. I just kind of sat there. But, Steve Harvey likes to fish. There's a lot of celebrities that do. I do not know the list of who they're going to have for the World Bass Championship as far as the celebrity goes, but yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. You're going to message him. Yeah, I tried it. Let's see. Bassmaster needs to up their first place money. Again, like I said, I think all of them do, but you gotta have somebody willing to put up that money, right? Robert, when Michael Jordan enters OCM White Marlin Open, the crowds flock just to see him. Yes, and that's a pretty cool thing. I'd like to do one of the Marlin tournaments. Um, a lot of celebrity fishermen have their own stock ponds. They do. Eric Gunner, like Gunner Stockton. Listen, guys, I'll talk to a brick wall. Right now, I'm talking to a lens. Even though I'm talking to you guys, I'm sitting here staring at a lens talking. I'll talk to anybody. If I don't care if they're a pro or not, whatever. But I think it would be pretty cool to get some of them on. I think it'd be cool to go fishing. Atlanta Outdoors. Tiger was the first athletic pro golfer. Dude was jacked at one point. Yeah, he was jacked and he was doing other things, wasn't he? Tiger, listen, you'll never hear me say bless a man's heart like that when they're as good at something like that. But oh Lord, he succumbed to the temptations of this world, did he not? At the end of the day, we all know what rules the world, and just think about that. I mean, like even somebody like Chipper Jones. I don't know if you younger guys remember he had to do an interview because of the Hooter girl. He had to go sit down and give a public statement. I still remember the press conference. How would you like to have your life like that, where you're so famous or something like that, and you have an indiscretion, and you have to sit down to the press and say, "Well, yeah, I did this." Even though Bill Clinton had to finally admit to it, did he not? I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine. The veterans anglers, is why bass changed to FS forward facing sonar rule? Probably so. Probably so. Steven goes, why is it that golf has gotten all the non-endemic sponsors? What do you think keeps the non-endemic sponsors away from fishing? Very good question. And if you remember back in the day, uh, they we fishing did have non-endemic sponsors, right? I mean, Walmart was big into it. You had your tire companies, you had everything. Return on investment. I'm not in that business to in the know of all that, but I've talked to enough people. It's return on investment. Take Home Depot. Let's say Home Depot's got $1 million budget for fishing. What serves Home Depot better? On somebody's jersey or a guy on YouTube who not only is a fisherman but does DIY, projects around the house, and he's got 200,000 followers. It's going there if it goes anywhere. I just think it's a return on investment. I think, how many eyeballs are on just regular TV? What is it, Fox, FX2 or something like that, or FX or whatever, where you can watch Bassmaster? I think it has to do with ratings. I think it has to do with a lot of stuff. It's eyeballs. At the end of the day, it's eyeballs. How many eyeballs are going to see our logo, our product, and can you drive somebody in a store? And I don't know that professional fishing right now can drive people into a Home Depot. Maybe they can. Think about it. Okay, if you're fishing, you're following a professional fisherman. What's the one product that you use fishing on a week in, week out basis that you have to go to Home Depot and get? And my only thing I can think of right now is super glue or crazy glue or something like that. Some Loctite, because a lot of them guys use Loctite. So I think that's it. I think it's just at the end of the day, that's it. And Bass and MLF and all that, they got to come up with something to get those guys back. If you could ever get the non-endemic back into professional fishing, you might see the increases. I mean, you see companies like Geico because you insure a boat, something that can be used, truck, auto insurance, whatever. Um, but you really don't see a lot of it. And I don't have the answer. I think it's just you got guys in a boardroom, you got X amount of dollars. Where's our X amount of dollars best spent? Right now, it's not professional bass fishing as much as we want it. It's just not. But I think that's why non-endemic sponsors stay away from fishing. All about the eyeballs. Their money's better spent in football. Even NASCAR struggles. NASCAR struggles with sponsorships and all that. Um, It's a good question. It's one that we need to think about. It's one that would change the sport if you could get that money back into it. Uh, I know that with the TV show and all that, or even with what I do now, I'm looking more into non-endemic possibilities than I am in the industry. You just got to find the right fit. Need to fish Steve Harvey's trophy bass pond stocked with all those giants in it. He says they're all tagged, female only population, and tons of protein. I'd like to have the money to be able to set a lake up like that. I want to fish with Gunner. Let's see. Farmer says I have to do a better job of watching the fishing tournaments. I just have a hard time watching them while I know I should be out fishing myself, not in the tournament, but just fishing. I think a lot of people feel the same way as you do, Farmer. Um, Golf is one of the few sports everyone can play tomorrow or whenever they want. Atlanta Outdoors, golf and fishing are one of the few sports that you can play from the time you can walk up to you 99 years old if you can still get around, right? I mean, it is for sure. Here's your good question. Why does pro fishing only have three black anglers? Um, I don't have the answer to that. I really don't. Could it be kind of like baseball? Where wherever you live, it's kinda like the sport that, I know baseball deals with that problem because they have initiatives going up. Pro baseball has initiatives going out into the inner cities and the suburban areas where, say, basketball or something rules, trying to get more, uh, black kids into baseball. That is something that they do. Now, is it the same thing with fishing? You know what? Jeremiah could speak on that more than I could. I'm not qualified to speak on that. It is true, though. It is true that there are very few. Could it be an economic thing? Takes money to make money. I don't know. There's a million and one reasons. I don't think it should be. Well, I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that. It's a very good question. Why do we not have more black professional anglers? I don't know. I don't know. I'm one of the. I'm one. I am of the belief that if you got the skill and you got the possibility, anybody can do it. Skin color be damned. But I'm sure there's a lot more um, layers to that onion that probably need to be dealt with for sure. And listen, you know what? Is that my fault? Is it your fault? When's the last time you invited an African American to go fishing with you? I don't know. We got to get them in the sport. We're supposed to be growing the sport. We talk about getting more women involved. Maybe we should do that as well. I don't know the answer. Um, I really don't know the answer to that, but it is a good question and something worth considering. Set of clubs is much cheaper than a boat for sure. All right, here's Doug's announcement. He's starting a new podcast leaning heavy on the hunting side, mixed with some fishing, never to compete with the live well. I have much respect to this show. And Doug, I love you. I'd squash you. No, I'm just kidding. Doug asked me, dude, go for it. Any of you guys want to do a podcast? Go for it. All right. There are guys out there a lot better at it than me and a lot more knowledgeable at it than me. And you might be one of them. Do it. You'll never know unless you do it. But go check it out. Doug, where can somebody find your podcast when it starts coming out? Where are you going to put it so that we can follow you? And I tell you on the hunting stuff, though, I hope you do some filming up there in Kentucky. My gosh, that is a beautiful place. That is just one of the dearest places I've ever stepped foot in. You know, you get to those places, it's kind of like an old pond back in the woods. You guys have walked on them ponds and stuff like that. You found a lake and you're like, it just looks fishy. And then, of course, you fish it, and it is fishy, right? It is just loaded with big bass. That's the way Doug's place in Kentucky looks. Soybean farm or whatever. At least that's what they were growing this past year or whatever. These them bottoms and everything, it just looks like where Realtree or one of them Mossy Oak would film some of their shows at. So I hope that you include a lot on the hunting stuff with that. Uh, Atlanta Outdoors. But anyway, Doug, put it in the comments. Put it in the comments. Let me skip ahead real quick. I see Jeremiah answered this. I want to get back to this. Because here's the thing too. Guys, you gotta be willing to talk about it. And for some of you, this conversation might make you uncomfortable. You gotta be willing to talk about it. Pro fishing has only 3 black anglers because of opportunities available and lack of popularity and representation. Fishing is just something black folks do. That's his words, not mine. Black folks do with their uncle on the weekend or something. And that is true. That is a sure thing. Um, and Jeremiah, I appreciate you saying that. Again, I'm not qualified to talk about that. I can give you my opinion and my best guesses, but I'm also a little bit different. Um, I was not raised in a racist family. Some of you, I have family members that are pretty much, yeah, it is what it is. But like my son's best friend at his wedding was Cam. He's from Kentucky. Um, but I remember the first time he walked into our church. Um, only black guy in our church, and befriended him right then and there. Got to know him, got talking to him, but like he makes me uncomfortable. He says more off color jokes and all that stuff, that things that I can't say, and he loves it because he knows I'm not going to say it. But he said something one time. We were sitting there, and it was at a men's meeting or something. And he goes, "Well, as the only black guy, here a lot," and he said something. I went, "What?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I didn't know you was black." That's the way you got to approach life, guys. That's just the way I approach it. Cam's a dude. You're dudes to me. Jeremiah's a dude. I just, we look a little different on the outside. But you're probably right. Pro fishing only has 3 black anglers because of opportunities available and lack of popularity and representation. Got to talk about the uncomfortable stuff sometimes. Um, 2 things a lot of fishermen I've known in my life do. They play golf and play guitar. I strum a guitar. I'm terrible at it, but I strum it. Uh, Fishing is definitely a pay to play. Uh, well, War Eagle, again, what your comment right there might have a lot to do with opportunity and boats and stuff like that, for sure. Different dreams, honestly, but that's like women in professional fishing. I, you know, I've often said we don't have enough women on the channel. And when Tony and I were talking about his new show, that's one of the things that we think we're going to allow him to do as well. Um, the barrier to entry in fishing is super high to be competitive, for sure. Where can we see your television shows right now? They were on Waypoint. I think there's still some, they're not in prime time anymore because we haven't done a new season or anything like that. Uh, YouTube. I still believe we got them on the Real American Road Trip YouTube channel. Will Ish ever make it back to the elites? I don't know. I don't know. There are clubs with black anglers. There are. I actually follow a group on Facebook called Black Fishing Buddies. I'm probably the only piece of salt there. I don't comment, but I honestly I watch it and I keep up with some stuff and I enjoy the content. I'm sure a majority, this is Jeremiah again. I'm sure a majority of black people that fish don't even know you can make money in fishing really outside of things like social media. Pro bass tourneys and $70,000 glitter rockets aren't thought of, to be honest. And again, that's kind of what I was saying, like, where you grow up, what you do. Um, there's so many layers to the onion. But I'll say this: agree with me, disagree with me, like me, don't like me. I don't give two shits. But even I shared a post from Digital Sportsman talking about Captain Prescott Smith down in the Bahamas, and it's Black History Month, and Digital Sportsman put out a post, and I shared it. Got 2 comments on it. One was a guy saying it's racist to have Black History Month, blah, 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 blah. And whatever your feelings are on that, they're your feelings. And then luckily, James Collins, who's one of the moderators, he said, dude, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. You're going to have to deal with that too. That's just, some people can't get it out of their head. Um, I'm not that guy. My parents couldn't afford a boat and trailer, and I also wanted to fish for way more than bass. That's why I didn't do it, I guess. College and high school fishing teams didn't exist either. True. And okay, let's take that high school fishing. That's where a lot of guys are getting started. How many Metro Atlanta Like, really, when you get down into Atlanta or other, big cities, how many of the high schools actually have a fishing team? Maybe that's something that guys could help start. Um, Messick, I still can't believe you get away with saying old lady. Is this the only place you get away with that? I try to push my old lady to try and do more than what I do. Just seems like if you got boobs, you can get sponsorships and everything else is a little easier. Well, yeah. I think it's easy. I think you can get really clickbaity with it. I think it is an easy way because guys are dogs, right? Are we not dogs? If we're being honest. But unfortunately, that not necessarily that mindset, but I think that mindset is what holds a lot of women back, not wanting to do that. You get what I'm saying? It's like they don't want to be a part of that because we see it at the beginning of every deer season, right? All of a sudden, your social media is flooded with chicks in bikinis out there shooting their bows. And we know damn good and well that they don't hunt like that. They're not out there, but that's what gets views. You look on social media now, and how many of you guys see the pages? You know the ones I'm talking about, where the girl is on in a bikini on a boat catching something. It's the only time I hear guys not complain about seeing somebody fishing while looking at their back. They got to compete with that too. It's very stereotypical, and I mean, I guess we're all guilty of it. But I just like your whole statement. I'm just like, damn, he still calls her old lady, his old lady. From what I heard from some I worked with over the years, they thought it was too slow, and they didn't understand hunting. Sitting in a tree in cold weather and at times seeing nothing. That is true. That's why a lot of guys don't hunt. But to me, that's the best part of it, right? The silence. There's not to me. I it's the silence, and then it's kind of like hunting is kind of like doing the deed with your old lady, as Messick says. Hours of working up and building up, doing nothing, trying to for what? That 35 seconds of the adrenaline rush? But it is that 35 seconds of the adrenaline rush that keeps bringing us back, is it not? War Eagle the best. As a person who's born outside the U.S., I think everyone in this country has that opportunity to fish here on a pro level. It's just an excuse to say they don't have it. Well, you know what? I do believe part of what you said is true. Part of that is true in the fact that a lot of guys will make the excuse that they can't do it because of X, Y, and Z. And even Nick said it last night. He goes, go for it. He goes, I wish I was not scared to have done it in my 20s. Now I'm doing it later in life. He regrets not doing it, not going for it. And I think a lot of people, it's easier to say, I can't do it than to get out there and bust your ass and do it. Right. And so I do agree with what you said. I don't know about pro level because I think at the end of the day, you still got to have some skill. Um, I would say back in the day, I was above average baseball player, but I was 5'7" left-handed. There ain't a lot of spots in pros for a 5'7" left-handed, short guy that can run. Sometimes it is physical skill level, but you can attempt it. You can definitely go for it. Um, let's see. Where are we at? Doug's show right here. Bucks. It'll be on YouTube soon. Bass, Bourbon, and Bucks. That's going to be the name of the channel. Danny, that's just your feed. Tyler, you lie, daggone well. War Eagle says, look at Takahiro. Oh, those names kill me. Omore, who is from poor income, came here and became a classic champion. He didn't complain. No, listen, he didn't. You got to give him credit. He went out there and did it. Women, all ethnic groups, and even white guys just want to be treated with respect. They all do. You just got to be a respectful person, right? You do. You should respect them all. I think that's 100%. I think like anything, it's all about being exposed to it. If you're never exposed to fishing or competitive fishing, you won't know that there's an opportunity. I'm surprised by guys that will come up and say, you can fish bass tournaments for money. That still happens to me all the time. And it is generally from outside the bass world, for sure. Now, he says she likes it. Honestly, I've asked her and I didn't get smacked or iron domed, so I think it's good. Um, Interesting point here from Jeremiah. Fishing was already considered kind of lame years ago, but more so in the black community. I was a weirdo as a 5 7-year-old being more interested in catching bass, tuna, and marlin than the popular stuff. Okay, that makes sense. Farmer is right. If you don't know something is out there like a boat, a car, a career, you can't choose it. It's not an option. Fair enough. War Eagle the best. Fishing doesn't have physical requirements, just a mental game like chess. Yes, you are right. Um, but I would say yes and no. When you're a competitive professional fisherman, a lot of those guys, look at G Man. You're having surgery on your knees. Jason Johnson, who fished FLW for a couple years from up here in Dawsonville, his back was always killing him because them guys send it, dude. They're not taking that boat and they're sending it and it pounds on their back. Um, there is some physicality to it. I get what you're saying. It is more of a mental game. I 100% understand what you're saying, but there are some physical attributes to being. That's like saying a race car guy is not a NASCAR driver is not an athlete. If you've ever been pulling that many G's sitting in a furnace in the middle of summer, you have to have some physical conditioning to be able to do that. You don't see a lot of fat NASCAR guys. There's a couple of them that are a little thicker than others, but you know what I'm saying? You in this day and age, even then they have these strenuous workouts and everything. Um, Farmer says, Giles, all fishermen are considered strange or weird. I try talking fishing at work, and some people look at me like I have a second head. Um, and then Patricia, so are there any blacks that work for the NPFL, Bass, or MLF? And when you say work for them, I don't know. I'll look into it for you guys. I'll look into. I think it's an interesting conversation. Um, and we could talk for hours and hours and hours on the the components and aspects of fishing. Might be a good show to do that. It might be a good show to for me to get 3 or 4 guys on there whose skin color is not the same as mine and say, "Okay, let's talk about it. Let's have a truthful, honest conversation." You know, have you know, are there barriers that you perceive to be out there? Are there and some may say they are, some may say they're not, but I mean, it would be probably a good episode to listen. Same thing with women. Same thing with women. Um, you know, I don't know. I like talking to everybody, so I would be interested in doing it. Farmer, it's the guys that look confused when I tell them I throw them all back. Y'all would have thought I committed a sin. My father-in-law, bless his heart, God rest his soul, he went bass fishing. He went there to catch them to eat. And I would be out in the canoe. I would take him up to the R Ranch, and they got a lake up there. There's a little island in there, and I would take him out to that island. Him, his bass minnows, his lawn chair, his 2 gallon of sweet tea, and his Marlboros. And I'd drop him off, and he would just throw shiners all around that thing. And I'm in the canoe or whatever, and I'm paddling around, and I'm skipping, trying to skip or something. And I'm bass fishing, and I'll catch one. I go, hey, and he'll go, bring it here, and I'll go, bloop, drop it right back down in the lake. He'd get pissed off at me because he ate them. We had that conversation before. Now he didn't look at me like I was strange. He was like, dude, that would have been good eating. I said, yeah, but it'll grow. Steven says, that's why I like kayaking. Mind and body have to come together. Especially if you paddle. Yeah, for sure. There's no Tiger Woods of bass fishing to inspire anyone either. But we do have BLAT and hood fishing, ENT. I have a lot of work to do on my YouTube channel. Let's say again, Jeremiah, that's I'm not putting it all on you, but it's going to be up to you. Do you see what I'm saying? Like if you'll have to change people's opinions. I can't do that. I mean, I can invite more black guests on. I didn't have this on my bingo card for this show today, but here we are. I could do a better job of that. I could do a better job. I have invited BLAT though. I can't get him on. But it's going to be up to you to change people's um, opinion. Now, I will say this: when Tiger Woods came, you know, the awe of just how powerful he was, and just how he just came in and just was kicking everybody's ass. Right? Maybe that's what needs to happen. I mean, that was the reason because I like watching Tiger because I don't know. I like watching people just come in and dominate a field. I loved watching Mike Tyson box. I still to this day wouldn't hit Mike Tyson head on in my truck. It didn't matter what skin color he was. It was just how damn good he was and how scary he was and how he dominated. Like, And I'll tell you this, I grew up wanting to be Hank Aaron, out in my front yard, throwing the ball up, trying to hit it over my house. I didn't know any better back then. To me, honestly, too, it wasn't as big of an issue. I don't know. I don't know. James says it's very physical. That's why you won't see many 75-year-olds throwing crankbaits all day. I am one of them who can't, and I'm in very good shape. I get it. I go to a tournament now, I come home and I crash on the couch. It wears my ass out. Now, I am not in the best of shape. I'm not in near as good a shape as I could be. Um, but sore shoulders, my calves kill me sometimes, just depending on the shoe selection when I'm running the trolling motor all day. It does get physical, but I do believe War Eagle is correct too that it is more of a mental game on a professional level. Um, let's see, Robert, it's you against the fish, 100%. Color shouldn't matter. The fish are the ones that should have any complaints. Yeah, if anybody should complain, it should be the fish, right? I agree with you, Robert, 100%, 100%. Um, Danny, are y'all coming to the Noe Outdoors in Greenville this year? Hell no. I ain't driving all the way up Greenville. I'll go to the Cartersville show. It's closer. Actually, we're going to go to we are going to go. I think Tony and I are going to go hang with Brazalo at his booth. I think we're going to go up there and hang for a little while. But Greenville, no, honestly, no, I'm not. I don't plan on it. How about that? I think Waterworld might be a white world. Look at a crowded lake next time you go. Listen, that is another thing too. Now, listen, it is a stereotype, but it is true. Like Cam's one of my best. I talk to Cam all the time. Well, I say I talk to him all the time. We talk a lot. I see him at church every Sunday. I've invited him fishing, and he's like, he truly is scared to get on a boat. And it's up to me to talk him into it to break that stereotype. But again, he's never had the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? He's never had the opportunity. Nobody in his family fishes the way we fish down here. So I have to, it's up to me to change that. I am working on him. You're welcome, Doug. I hope you have success. And listen, I say this in reference to when back a few years ago when we really pissed off a lot of people in the Lake Lanier area. Guys that have been around, they know about how we did it, why we did it. But Lake Lanier's a 38,000 acre lake. There's room for everybody. And that was talking about guides and all back then. The podcast world, there's enough for everybody. You just got to be consistent. You got to be able to do it on days when you don't feel like it, and you got to be able to do days when not a lot of people watch. Some days we have a bunch watching, some days we don't. You just got to power through like everybody in the world's watching, and you'll do fine. And I wish you all the best. I hope you do well. And because I'm so accepting, you got to make sure you take me hunting next year. I love throwing a crankbait all day, but my back, excuse me, let me rephrase that. I love throwing a crankbait all day, but my back tells me about it the next day. Yeah, mine too. Now, Doug, if you want to ruin your podcast, invite me to be a guest. Right? You don't do that. Get somebody who knows what they're talking about. I'd love to do it. I'd love to, especially if we go up there and talk about your place up there. The War Eagle says it's doable physically for 95% of men and women in their 20s to start a pro career. Okay, but listen. Let me think about that. Not everybody, a very small majority of anglers, when you consider all the bass anglers in the United States, it sounds like it's the biggest portion of everybody, but actually a very, very small amount of anglers enjoy anything over a local pot tournament, or they just fun fishing to begin with. Tournament bass fishermen are the minority in the bass world. I don't think a lot of people want to do it. If we're being honest, I don't think a lot of people have that dream. So, but if you look at it and you look at the numbers, if you take, let's just say there's 6 million bass anglers in the United States, and there is more, it's significantly more, but let's just say 6 million. And you take the pros today and you do the math and you figure out what percentage, it's so minutely small that often we get stuck thinking about or thinking that pro fishermen or tournament fishermen is the majority. It is such a minority. It's so small That's why when I have pros come on, I tell them before, I want you to try to help the common guy out with fishing. Drop some juice, help them out because they don't want to be a professional angler. They love what you do. They like watching you. They have no desire to go fish pros. I honestly, I don't know if I was back in my 20s if it would be something I would. I enjoy talking about it more than I do actually going. I enjoy fishing tournaments, but I go to a tournament to, I hate to say that, it's a business decision. I go to a tournament to rub elbows, to meet and talk to people, to find out who's the next hot angler, who's this, so that I can talk about them. Fishing professionally, I can say it would be cool, but I don't know that I would want to go through the hustle and the bustle and the travel and begging people for money and having to do those things. I don't know that I would do it. And I think the majority of anglers out there have no desire whatsoever to be a pro angler. Now, making money off of fishing is one thing, but I'm talking about like being a Bassmaster Elite. Yeah, it sounds cool till you have to try to do it. Um, let's see. Danny. Danny could talk about anything and everything. Ask me how I know. I can't come. Yeah, it's if I don't talk about it, Farmer, it stays in my head and drives me crazy. Danny, it's Tony. Tony's here now. Danny, I just got the guest we were talking about last night. Oh my goodness, Tony. See, that's how my brain is. Who'd we talk about? I did tell everybody. I did tell everybody about your show and what we're going to do. And again, we don't have a name for it yet. Text it to me because I can read text over my computer. Text it to me who we were talking about. I got out of it because of conflict of interest. I didn't realize how small the tournament world really was until I got out of it. It really is small. Pro bass fishing is hard, like being a stand-up comedian. Got to put your own money up, travel back and forth, and bomb it, and bomb back-to-back years until you finally start to make it. People don't want to do that. See, that's what's so cool about Emil. Everybody thinks Emil gets lumped into these daddy's money, and he had this and that kind of guy. Silver. Emil got his ass kicked monthly, weekly on Lanier and Allatoona and all that. He just kept on. He did have that drive. That's what he wanted to do, and he succeeded. But you're right, Jeremiah. He got his teeth kicked in. And how many people, once they get their teeth kicked in a time or two, take their ball and go home? Right? I think the majority of people take their ball and go home. You got to have a certain mindset, a certain drive. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, Tony. Tony just texted me the guest. Can we announce it? Do you want to announce it right now? Uh, so okay, you did put it right there. Bass and Bougie. I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. You guys follow them on TikTok. If not, you should. He is a super nice dude. And you know what, Tony? I don't know if you saw if you've been around for most of the conversation. How long you been here? Because all we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes is race and black guys fishing. Tony's first guest is black, and he's a super cool dude. He's a big old boy though. My lord, I wouldn't want to tussle with him. He's a big boy. Coleman, subscriber number one. It's gonna be on our YouTube. You're already a subscriber to Tony's channel, to Tony's podcast. You didn't know. That's what I said. We're gonna make the live well like a channel. Maybe one of these days I'll get Doug to put his on there. If it don't work out for your own channel, Doug, let me know. You got a home here. And that's another thing for you guys. Listen, I'm always looking for talent and guys that want to talk about stuff. And you might have a niche or something that you want to cover. We can make it happen. Don't be afraid to try and ask and find out. Tony's going to do a fantastic job. Now listen, let me pull this up because I just see this. Steven said, that is why I asked my question last night about a technique or bait he didn't want to talk about. And he kind of laughed. Pro guys, and I'm very transparent. I tell you guys this. I tell every pro before that most of them are the ones that have been on, they know the drill, what's off limits. Because they are competing against other guys. Like if I had somebody fishing Gunnersville, let's just say I had Fisher on last night, I wouldn't, or Drew Cook, even Drew Cook the other day. There were certain things that we were not going to talk about because those were techniques he was going to use this week. And you have to be respectful of that. You do, and we want them to give us every just drop of everything. But you got to be a little bit respectful of it and understand that there's financial ramifications. If Drew said, "Hey, I'm going to go throw bait X on spots Y," and one of his competitors is watching, they're not going to give that up. I get it. I get it. I did think it was interesting though. We got to talking about going and fishing somebody's spot the day before a tournament starts. Them guys like that. Listen, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, and it really ain't cheating. But you know what I'm saying. Um, okay, back to the physicality. Warriors. So I'm not saying they have to be physically. They can hold a rod and throw a crankbait all day long in their 20s. Just a physical part. You got to have skills to become a pro, not strong body or big muscles. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Um, he heard some of it. Okay, that's kind of what we were talking about, and that's funny though that you come up. We hung out with him at ICAST. Um, he's a super cool dude. But he is, man, he's a big human being. Now, I guess really, if I'm being honest, everybody's a big human being compared to me. But he's super nice guy. Looking forward to the new show, Tony. I always love to see when the crew of the Live Well gets a solo show. I wish they'd all do it. I'm glad we're doing this. Tony and I have been talking about this for a while, but I was almost to the point where I was going to say, Tony, won't you just take Thursday nights? Give me a night off. But I love doing the Live Well. So then we're gonna have something Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now I just got to find one of you fly fishing guys that want to do your own show, or another, striper guys, catfish guys. And it doesn't have to be every week. If you got the equipment and you can talk, let's talk. Uh, okay. Here we go. YRDGBA on YouTube. I started tournament fishing in my 20s and was pretty good at it, but I had too many hobbies besides that to pursue it full time. I'm now in my 60s. Right, 100%. Now, Justin Spees on TikTok. What's going on, buddy? And that's the way. Listen, I didn't fish hardly in my 20s and 30s because I was on a ball field. True story. I love baseball. Got out of high school and all that. Had some small college opportunities, but got goofing around and blew out my knee. Shot that shit up. Went straight to beer league softball, and I did that for 15, 16, 17 years. 3 or 4 nights a week and on weekends. That's all I did. That was my hobby. Fishing was an occasional thing. I wish I could do it all over again, and I would have flipped that. Money Bass has some of the best live on Lanier Stream. That's all right. I watch it from time to time. At some point within the next year or two, I'm going to try and fish a couple of the opens, I think. Tyler, go for it. Because if you don't, you're going to be my age going, I wish I'd have fished some of the opens. Go for it. What's the worst that can happen? I still fish. Should I say yard GBA? I don't know how you really want to pronounce it. I still fish some local stuff for fun and still love it. Right, absolutely. Jeremiah had one. Let me see. Okay, here we go. I knew I missed that. I skipped ahead of it. The stereotype is minorities don't release fish. I didn't believe it until this one old black dude set the hook on a catfish. I thought the drag was peeling, but it was just the grease already bubbling. Well, listen, ain't nothing wrong with eating them. And it is a stereotype. It is a stereotype. I get it 100%. But I will tell you this, man, they know how to cook them. They sure do know how to cook. Um, let's see. Tyler, I would love to go pro. The only thing holding me back is wanting to have a family young, and I don't want to miss my kids growing up being on the road. It's a decision. There's one guy on here right now that I know that can fish pro. Okay. That I know has the talent to fish pro, and he chose family. And that's Farmer. Farmer can fish pro. He knows it. Family's more important to him, as it should be. As it should be. And so I understand that, correct? I understand that. I understand that. I ain't telling you Farmer to be a Bassmaster Elite, but I'm telling you Farmer could fish for money. And he knows it. But he knows he loves his kid, and he loves his wife. He's got 2 great kids, loves his wife. Family's more important. I get it. You got to make that decision. I don't think Farmer would tell you he regrets it. I think he'll tell you too, though, he would love to do it. You just got to make that decision. Now, but here's the thing. A lot of guys make it work. A lot of guys have families. They make it work. It just depends on how much. First of all, your spouse would have a lot to do with that. Okay. So a lot of them guys have great spouses that support them, that go to the weigh-ins, that have the family around them as much as possible. Jordan Lee's one that comes to mind. Family's around a lot. So it can be done. Don't let it automatically tell you that it can't be done. it can be done. It just depends on, it really depends on the couple. I think personally. Um, I second that. Live like you're dying, as the song says. Have no regrets. You don't want any regrets. Um, Now, Farmer says that Jeremiah, I'd love to go to Notley myself, and I get 1 day every 2 weeks, and now I'm down with lower unit trouble. Yeah, I mean it does. Life gets in the way sometimes. Life does get in the way sometimes. Anyway, good Lord, guys, is it almost been an hour and a half? See, I get to talking. Whatever happened to Fishburne? I don't know. Now the War Eagle the best. Exactly. The spouse is a biggest factor here for sure. And then Tyler says, me and my girlfriend have talked about it. If I win an open or qualify, she will make me chase it. Go for it, dude. Robert says, bring the family into it and make it a family thing. The children could learn and take the reins if they have the interest. Uh, Justin says beer league is the best league. Yeah, but I wish I had all that money I dropped on beer league softball back. Kind of like travel ball for my kids. Travel ball is the most overrated thing a parent can do. Sorry. When you're in it, you think it's the best thing you can do. And at the end of the day, when your kid's not a pro, you're like, God, I wish I had all that money back. Beer league softball is the same thing. Tony says, I have an overseas contract. I was an overseas contractor for 2 years, making better money than a pro fisherman. Seeing my kids 42 days in 2 years was rough. I'd be wealthy if I'd stayed, uh, but just couldn't do it to them. I understand. I understand. And here's Farmer. Farmer will tell you this: would love to fish pro, but I wouldn't trade uh, what he gave up to be with my wife and kids. I was not willing to give up time with the kids and wanted them to know their father was always there. And and Tyler said, you best believe it. My kids will be fishing. My kid will be the next Trey McKinney. Hey, listen, my son hates fishing. I love fishing. I talk fishing. My entire room in here is nothing. You can't see it, but I got boxes and boxes of baits and stuff over there. It's all fishing. My son can't stand fishing. So phrase that. I like to phrase things like that, Tyler. Lord willing, Lord willing, my kid will like to fish. Um, when it's not producing, then make the change. Yeah, it's just what your dream is. All right. But you never know what life's going to throw at you guys. I did not know 6 years ago I was going to get behind a microphone and interview Shane, whatever his name is, about jigs, and that 6 years later I would be sitting right here doing this about every day. You never know what life's going to throw at you. Um, Fishing addict here, Robert said. I get it. I know you're a fishing addict. The fact that you tune into this every day, you gotta have, crazy. War Eagle the best. I would love to be a pro making a living by fishing, but I don't have the skills to fish on that level, and neither do I, my friend. Neither do I. It's a fun thought. It's a fun dream. I'd love to play professional baseball. Ain't happening. Ain't happening. Eventually, you're going to be where the Lord puts you, right? Whatever your beliefs are. But what is it? I don't have my Bible right here, but I believe it's in the book of James. Instead of saying, I plan on doing this or we're going to do that, say, if the Lord wills, blah, blah, blah. It's true. It's true. It's all about how you expose them to fishing. Start out with pan fishing, then graduate to bass or catfish. Yeah, don't stick a bait caster in their hand at 5 for sure. And that's why I love fishing. Again, you guys have heard me say it. What's my favorite way to fish? Give me a Zebco 33, a tube of crickets, and a pencil float. I could do that every day for the rest of my life and I'd be happy. Now, I like to fish other ways and all that, but it's the simple things from my childhood, the way I grew up fishing, that I like the best. So it's 100% about how you get your kid involved. Justin Speece, if you don't chase your dreams, then you have nothing to look forward to in your life. Hey, seriously, that's true. What is the life without dreams? Right? I have them. I still have them. I'm 50. I'll be 54 next month. Still got them. All right, Tony's got to get back to work. Everybody loves a black jitterbug. Patricia says, I like jitterbugs. So I will make an announcement here in the next 2 hours if we're going to have a show tonight. Um, we might do, if we don't get the kayak specific guest, we might do an electric only small body reservoir uh, show tonight, or we might just take the night off. I don't know. I have to see what Alex wants to do. But you guys, we've been going an hour and a half. We just got the rambling. Good conversation today. Sometimes you never know what's going to happen when we get to talking, right? You never know. I can have the best plans out there. We're going to talk about A, B, C, and before you know it, we're talking about X, Y, and Z. So, and I like it. I like it. I like how we do that. I like the fact that it feels like we're always sitting around a campfire and just shooting the bull. We'll solve life's problems somehow, some way doing this. Jeff Brazil, this is the attitude you got to have. I guess the Lord wanted me to work for a hospital and be dang good looking instead of being a pro bass fisherman. Uh, I always say that when I'm sitting in front of a mirror naked. I say the Lord knew what he was doing because he knew if I was built like that, I would not be doing what I'm doing now. He knew exactly what he planned it. So yeah, guys, hey, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. All the good stuff the coolest kid do. One last comment, a couple. First of all, let me tell Coleman he's dumb. Cedar Creek is the best lake east of the Mississippi. I'd like to kick you right in the shins for saying that. Um, you're crazy, but I know you're being sarcastic. Best time I have found for the kids is when the bluegill are spawning. Nonstop action. You don't have to be extremely accurate with cast. Get it close. Get it close. Um, Joseph said would love to talk Rocky Mountain tonight. Joseph Bennett, 2723. Y'all want to do that? Y'all want to just have an electric only small body reservoir show tonight? Let's do that. And you're welcome, Stephen. No, don't thank me. Thank you guys. You guys show up, and really, if you think about it, the conversation is always dictated by you guys. That's why it's like I never know what in the hell we're going to talk about. Once we get going, I don't know where it's going. But no, thank you. Don't ever thank me. Thank you. Let me talk to Alex. Check out the Fish North Georgia group page, and I'll make a post if we're going to do it or if we're not going to do it. But I think there's enough content we could put a show together on the fly about electric only here in Georgia. And also, too, we can talk interestingly how electric only is kind of jumping out onto the big water as well. We can talk the small lakes, Rocky Mountain, Latham, Hickory Log, all these small lakes. There's plenty to talk about. We could do that. But a lot of the electric only trails have outgrown those lakes. Like I haven't fished a tournament on Rocky Mountain in 3 years, maybe even a little bit longer, because it's not big enough for some of these things. But we can talk about it. Let me see what Alex wants to do. Check out the Fish North Georgia group page for the latest. I will let everybody know it is 1:30. By 3 o'clock, I'll have you an answer. And if you ain't doing that tonight, and we are having a show, come hang out and talk with us. These electric only lakes, they fish like big lakes. I could try to tell everybody that if Latham had rock, it'd be Lanier. You'd fish it. Whatever's biting on Latham, on Lanier or Allatoona, you're pretty damn well sure could possibly work over here on Latham. It's that same tactics, same techniques, and everything. So, um, yes, because I want to learn more about the small electric only. There are some monsters in those small lakes. Okay. I will tell you right now, about 90% sure that's what we're going to do, but it's Alex's night. Okay. I want to run that by him, and we might do that. So, anyway, you guys go back to work. I actually got to go cook chicken now for my wife. She's doing some kind of meal, and she sent me a text. Hey, can you cook the chicken? So, I'm going to go let the dogs out, let them do what they do outside, cook some chicken, get back to work in here and all that. But we'll probably see you guys tonight about 8. And if not, I'll be back tomorrow at 12. We'll do another one of these. We'll talk about whatever the news is. And then tomorrow night, we'll have another live well. I'm working on the guest for that as well. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I love you guys. I love you. Come hang with me. One big, we ain't the best looking, but you know what we'll do, right? One big happy family. All of you, no matter what color you are. I love y'all.